I'm from a grimy era, let's talk about it. Gotta keep a pole, can't walk without it. Did some things in the streets, but I won't talk about it. Seen some things in the streets, but I won't talk about it. I'm from a hood that's thorough, they don't play here. And they don't play on these blocks, it ain't a daycare. A new kid gets shot every day here. I guess that's why my heart colder than the rain there. DVD Era TV back at y'all with another one. Y'all know the slogan. Now let's get straight into this one. Now in today's video, we're going to do the top gangsters of the DVD era. Now I know a lot of people not going to agree with the order of this list or even some of the people that may be on this list. That's why y'all got to leave y'all thoughts in the comment section so I can spin back and do a part 2. Now this video is not glorifying the gangster lifestyle at all, and just know everybody that's on this list face their consequences for their actions. Now let's get into it. Now, Saon is one of the most convincing rappers in the DVD era. By age 12, Saon began doing robberies with a 2.5 he gotten from a kid in exchange for a gold bracelet he found. By age 16, Saon would go to jail after beating a guy up and shooting up his car over a female after just coming home from juvie for an assault case. Now, after coming home from this bid, just 3 weeks later, Saon would get bumped in the club, and Saon would shoot the guy who bumped him and accidentally shoot an innocent bystander and eventually get locked up and get 6 years for this crime. And not to mention, Saon to be in front of Chelsea Diner when a fan tried to take a picture with him, but suddenly takes his chain. Saon says he go snatch his chain back and start fighting the dude. Now, Saon is with one of his guys, and he believes this dude is alone, but he wasn't alone. He was with somebody else. And that person he was with comes and stabs Saon in the side of his head with a bottle. Saon and his man gets the best of them, take their phones and everything, but Saon is bleeding out. Now, Saon bought a new car, and he didn't want to get in his car and ruin the seats or anything with his blood.
The reason why I almost died is because I bought my first car, and I didn't want to get no blood in my Mercedes.
Now, Shay Davis is a rapper from the Bronx, New York, but moved to Rosedale, Queens with his aunt around the age 9 after his mom's and grandmother passed away. Not ever really knowing who his father was, Punch found himself in a lot of trouble at a young age. At age 13, he cut the face of a student he was fighting with. While being on the run for that particular incident, Shay Davis would be jumped, and in retaliation, Punch would cut one of the faces of the guys who jumped him and ended up being arrested for both of the cuttings and sentenced to 2 years in Lincoln Hall. Shay Davis would escape from Lincoln Hall by jumping over the barbed wire fence after having 4 additional months added to his bid. In 1994, Shay Davis will be arrested for a shootout with the police. Shay will fire a shotgun at an undercover officer in the subway, which led to 2 officers being shot by one another. Punch was also charged with shooting an old friend of his in the neck and ended up spending 6 years in prison for both of these crimes. Shortly after Shay Davis was released from doing 6 years in prison, he'll be arrested again for some much more serious charges, including robbery and murder, and was facing 30 years in jail. While he was incarcerated, Punch recorded a song over the phone and caught the air Smack White from Smack DVD. Smack will go visit Shay Davis while he was fighting his case and promised to link back up with Shay Davis when he was released from jail. Shay Davis ended up beating his case in trial and ended up coming home and killing the DVD scene.
Smack was good, you hear me? Told you we was gonna do it, nigga. Didn't I tell you so? Huh? Now I'm back in the hood, nigga, after being that motherfucking trial.
Now, the underground hip-hop world was introduced to Mel Murder, a.k.a. Mel Matrix, in the DVD era by Jim Jones. Melly would get his big break on the Bird Gang M.O.B. Members of Bird Gang mixtape alongside Jim Jones, Stack Bundles, and Max B. Growing up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Mel Murder would be well known and documented as one of the few rappers to really live what he rap about. From gang banging and going in and out of the prison system and living a life of crime.
You know how it be, I got like 1 foot in the game and 1 foot out the game. So a lot of situations, it be kind of sticky for me to play with them cameras.
Could I ask if you've ever been in jail? Long time?
Going back and forth since juvenile.
Now in 2018, Mel Murder would be caught up in the whole Treyway indictment with Tekashi 6ix9ine, and in 2019, Mel Murder was sentenced to 11 years in prison for his role in the Treyway indictment as the godfather of the 9 Trey Bloods. Now, Bangum Smurf was born in Trinidad but moved to Brooklyn in the late 80s. Bangum would begin to run the streets at a very young age with his crew. Around 8 or 9 years old, Bangum would witness his friend being shot and killed after they had a brawl with some rivals. By the age of 10, Smurf would move to Queens, and by the age 12 or 13, Bangum will be going out of town to sell drugs with his big homie, and he even caught a case where he had to spend a week in Spofford before being bailed out. Now, Smurf was facing 10 years for these charges, but ended up getting probation. Now, we all know Smurf for being a member of G Unit, but he was originally a part of Lost Boys LB fam under his big homie Freaky Ty. Now, according to Smurf, after Freaky Ty died is when he really began to bust his gun and wild out. Bangum will also get his name for cutting people's face on Jamaica Ave. And over the years, Smurf would build a reputation for being a known dude putting work in the streets, from hustling, cutting people, and even having shootouts. Now, before leaving G Unit, Bangum would catch a case for criminal possession of a weapon, a C-class felony, and was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison.
But we went and got them grippers. We knew where Worm lived. We caught them on their crib, and we did what we did. We got caught on the getaway.
Now, no matter what you may feel about Maino nowadays, but after he came home for doing 10 years on kidnapping charges in the DVD era, Maino was one of the most convincing street dudes to rap. From his fight where he supposedly beat up Little C's and taking Little C's chain.
I said, Little C's, I'll never get his chain back.
Smacking Young Berg, jumping Tragedy Gaddafi, and also putting hands on Bunky Essay with his crew. From smacking a fan that was getting out of line at one of his shows and supposedly taking a gun from a man trying to rob him and shooting him with his own gun.
He got his gun in my face. He tried to take my chain. I ain't panicking. This nigga ain't know what he was doing because I reversed that situation, took the gun and shot him.
Maino seemed to be one of the rappers who actually lived what he was rapping about. Now, True Life is a rapper from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York, known as the LES. Now, a lot of people was calling him a terror to Dipset in the DVD era. Now, True Life would slightly be introduced to the world after his feud with Mobb Deep, even though True Life got his first record deal in 1999, signing to DreamWorks. But it seems like True Life wouldn't really start the buzz until his beef with Mobb Deep, which started because True Life was mad at Prodigy for using a verse he paid Prodigy for on another record. Now, after True Life felt like he was being played by P because he was reaching out to Prodigy, but P was basically ignoring him, True and his entourage are running Mobb Deep studios, robbing and stripping members of the infamous mob, which was explained on the Beef DVD. Now, True will also make his rounds holding down Jim Jones along with JoJo Capone, helping Jimmy get out of several incidents he was in. And it's even said after Jim Jones and Dipset fight with Junior Mafia at the Rucker, True was the one called to hold Jimmy down. But after Jim Jones and True Life cousin JoJo Capone fell out over an agreement that Jimmy didn't hold up his end of the bargain, True Life decided to ride on everybody in Dipset. From popping on Cameron and having Jim Jones and a few Dipset members robbed for their chains, and an altercation that happened between True Life people, Jewel Santana and Jim Jones, where Jim Jones' ring was taken.
I'm downtown the club by myself, Dolo. True Life and like 3 out of car. I was like, yeah, Dipset, da-da-da. We get into an altercation down at the club. It's like 3 or 4 is me. So we get in an altercation. And even got Jim Jewelry on YouTube. Yeah, we took Jim Jones bringing all this other shit.
Now, after all of these incidents True was involved with, True Life street credit go through the roof, and he was looked at as a rapper you ain't really want to play with. But in 2009, True Life and his brother will be charged with second-degree murder and gang assault for stabbing and killing a man in an apartment lobby. In 2011, True Life pled guilty to gang assault and was sentenced to 8 years in jail. Now, Trick is a rapper from Detroit. He's known for putting Detroit on his back and making sure all rappers coming to Detroit show his hometown some love. Some people call it extortion or friendly extortion, but he considered it to be showing respect by checking in. Now, the whole no-fly zone movement was created so Detroit artists could get love from other rappers from other towns coming to Detroit to do business. Basically, Trick feel if you're from another town and you coming to Detroit to do business or a show, he wants you to look out for someone from his hometown while you out there. Now, Trick is known for situations where he jumped and beat up Trick Daddy and even had a brawl with the Locks. Now it was even big news that Trick beat up and robbed Young Berg for his Transformer chain and even had an altercation with Jim Jones where he was shot.
That happened to him, bro. I was over there talking to his bodyguard. During his assault, I was having a conversation with his bodyguard.
Trick would deny the last two claims ever happened, but the streets say different.
We're in Detroit right now, as we speak. Just finished leaving out casinos and gambling and all type of things that we like to do.
Now, it's also said back in 2014 when Rick Ross was set to do a show out in Detroit, he was the reason Ross ain't perform, and also said he was scared for his life, which Ross denies. Now, the scary thing about Trick is supposedly he owns a few clubs out in Detroit, and he also has a lot of close relationships with a lot of the promoters. So when a rapper get booked, it ain't hard for him to find out what flight you took, or even what hotel you staying in. Now, before Trick was known for his reputation of applying pressure on rappers, he'll be arrested for murder. Supposedly in 2003, Trick was accused of shooting and killing a man while he sat on the porch with his girl and his sister. Now, the victim girlfriend took a Goon Squad CD to the police to identify Trick, but she eventually changed her statement, and Trick was released after serving 6 months. Now, Mazerati Fox was definitely a rapper who stood on business, growing up in the streets of Queens and spending a lot of time in prison. In 1998, Mazerati Fox would be locked up for his involvement of the murder of Curtis Scott outside of Baisley Park houses. Now, it's said while Mazerati Fox would be in prison, he'll turn blood, and he also had ties with Sex Money Murder and Pistol Pete.
P. co-defense tell him, nah, I just came from over there, boom, I got the kite, boom, boom. I got that Sex Money Murder. Started banging that. I brought that flag back.
Now, Mazerati Fox would do 8 years of prison before being released. And when Fox came home, he was repping his own brand of the G Unit, known as the G Unit Dumbhouse, which Mazerati Fox had hit every DVD in the DVD era and wouldn't hold his tongue, getting at several rappers like Rick Ross, Young Jeezy, Max B, Bangum Smurf, Lord Tariq, and the list goes on. Now, it's even said that Fox would take on a lot of G Unit and 50 Cent beef, and it's even said that Mazerati Fox pulled the gun out on Jimmy Henchman in the Apollo.
You pulled the strap out in the Apollo, like with Jimmy Henchman, pull the strap out.
Now, through the years that Mazerati Fox was home from prison, he'll continue to work and grind, but he'll be locked up again in 2011 for attempted assault, where he was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison before being released December 2013. Now, after being home for about 2 weeks, supposedly Fox would be gunned down in a vehicle in a revenge shooting of the murder of Chris Scott, the murder that Fox was connected to back in 1998. Now, victim Scott's brother would be arrested and spent about 2 years behind bars for the murder of Mazerati Fox, but ended up coming home after beating the case due to technicalities. Now, it's also said that Mazerati was shot 21 times in his lifetime before his untimely death.
I got my own record company. I signed myself. Check this out. This is $500,000 on the table, man. This is $500,000 on the table. I just feel like y'all got too excited when Birdman paid me my 200 grand. Like, that's some real money. I've been had that money. I felt like y'all believe I was broke before I got that 200. This is $500,000. Huh? This is type money I bet. OBH Records, I got my own company. Huh? This is OBH Records. I got my own company. I'm independent for real. I'm independent. I signed myself. I don't have no boss. I've never had a boss in my life. King Ad, OBH, this is $500,000, man. Huh? You count it. Half a ticket, man. OBH Records, man. Y'all want to sign OBH Records, man? Jump in my DM. I sign y'all tonight.
Now, A.R. Ab is a rapper from North Philadelphia, born Abdul West, September 26, 1982. A.R. Ab is one of the most authentic rappers to ever break in the music industry, and one of the few rappers who actually live what he rap about, from selling drugs, doing robberies, shooting, and even being shot himself.
He put my records, gonna say homicide, attempted murder, robbery, all types of shit.
Now, A.R. Ab been shot 13 times on 2 separate occasions. According to A.R. Ab, he was shot 10 times after robbing a plug for a few bricks.
My second time getting shot was 10 times. I took some bricks from some people. It was some money on my head in Philly.
Now, supposedly after making a drug sell in another town in Philly, another car pull up on the side of A.R. Ab, firing and striking him 10 times. Now, even though he was hit 10 times, he still managed to drive himself to the hospital. But that wouldn't be the only trouble Ab would get in. Throughout A.R. Ab's life, he's been incarcerated several times on charges including murder, attempt murder, gun possession, and even drug charges. Now, A.R. Ab will even catch a murder case with Cassidy. Now, supposedly there was a shootout involving Cassidy and A.R. Ab, where 2 men were shot but survived, and Desmond Hawkins was killed. Now, Cassidy will be facing life, but will end up getting charged for manslaughter, weapon charges, and attempt murder, and sentenced to 11 to 23 months in jail. Now,
You didn't catch nobody. Everybody know you didn't. You living off my name.
Now, A.R. Ab would take his case to trial, but ended up beating it because the star witness took back his statement. Now, Ab will also be arrested for carrying a firearm and drug charges, but he would eventually beat the gun case, but get 3 to 6 years in prison for the drug charges. Now, even though A.R. Ab was well respected in his neighborhood, he still managed to be shot and even do jail time and basically face the consequences for his actions. Now, A.R. Ab is currently serving a 45-year sentence in prison for running a drug ring and his involvement with at least one murder. Now, Rod Diggs is probably one of the most authentic rappers ever to break inside the music industry. Growing up downtown Brooklyn in Gowanus houses, Rod Diggs would begin to sell drugs at an early age and even been arrested as early as the age of 14 years old. Now, in the late 90s, 9/8 to be exact, supposedly Rod Diggs would have a shootout with rivals in Wyckoff houses where an innocent bystander was shot in the head. Now, Diggs was a high-ranking member of the murderous Mad Dog Bloods and was in control of most of the drugs sold in Gowanus projects, where he had several stash houses. Now, it's even said that Rod Diggs was connected to 3 murders, where witnesses said they seen Rod do it with their own eyes. And Rod Diggs himself would be shot. On October 7th, 2001, Rod would be shot in his left leg over a drug dispute. And while recovering from his injuries in Kings County Hospital, it said that Rod Diggs' cousins would kill the shooter that shot him. Now, you may have heard Diggs speak on this situation on a freestyle with Uncle Murder to Young Jeezy Slow Down beat. And Rod Diggs says on his track, "I don't respect the shooter because he shot me in the legs, and 2 days later the little was dead. If he was smart, he would have shot me in the head because I could get you shot from a hospital bed." Now, after living a long life of crime, Rod Diggs would eventually have to face the consequences of his actions. On October 5th, 2010, Rod was arrested for 3 murders, drug dealing, racketeering, which all was federal charges. And at trial, several of Rod Diggs' songs and music videos was used against him as evidence. Rod Diggs would eventually get sentenced to 12 life sentences and 105 years in prison.